Okay, again, I'm so happy to welcome you all. See you again this week. Um, if I may request, others, are you kind of new to this group? So how we go about is generally we get to know each other, and so that we are familiar, we feel safe, and it's not something very formal. So that we can just be with our whatever is going on inside, we can blutter out, we can discuss, and we feel safe to do that. So instead of just like, the names, if we can see the face, it just helps to create a connection, especially when we are doing it virtually. So thank you, Rajesh. Yay. Adarsh, if you may unmute and introduce yourself, please. And welcome, Shalini. Good to see you. Okay, Adarsh, are you there? Okay, so see, whenever I call someone out, it's not because I want to kind of put the spotlight on you or something. It's just, it's a very intimate group. So um, that's all right if you wouldn't like to, or if you're not in a place to speak. Okay, you're traveling in train. Okay. All right, good. So, Rajesh, can you please introduce yourself and let us know like how familiar you are in this path and um, where you're dialing in from?
Uh, yeah, actually, I'm from Calicut in Kerala,
Mm-hmm.
uh, and I read some books a while back, and I've been in this not very active, but I've been following, reading the messages in the group, in the WhatsApp message for a while.
Okay.
Yeah, and
Okay.
I'm here basically working now as a freelancer, working from home, and yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So, what I'm curious, like, what kind of got you interested in the Bhagavad path?
Actually, actually, I was not interested in this thing. I was completely caught up in my mind until the age of 35 or something. Now I am 45,
Okay.
and I was just, like a machine, like working. I mean, just doing things based on my thoughts. And something happened to me at the age of 30, 35. Something happened to me like a sudden mental break kind of thing. And then I started following this kind of teachings, and I came across Bhagavath's teaching also. And now also I am a bit caught up in the mind, but I think condition is better. At least, at least I think the ego has reduced a little bit.
Of course, yeah. So yeah, thank you for putting yourself out and sharing about it. I think we all resonate with you. Something we all go in, in a certain way, very blindfolded, and then something happens in our life that wakes us up and puts us into so much trouble, and then we start, our internal process, and it's almost same. Like the way could have been different, the intensity of suffering could have been different, but we were all like, we didn't go for it voluntarily. That's what I would try to say. So, yeah, welcome. And about the ego, what is ego? Is there something like ego? Do we have to reduce it, keep it under control? All that would be a curious point of discussion. Is it even necessary? Or maybe is ego even relevant and important for our thrival? So it gives a complete different perspective shift from everything that we have known. So I welcome you. Just be, as you're already in the path, I'm sure you have an open mind and open ears, and yeah, so we will take it from there. And yes, Sonal and Anjana, how are you? So
Yeah, hi, Hema and everyone. And I am listening this talk, so I am feeling like it's like something is there between mind and subconscious mind, and how to control our thoughts and control ourselves mostly.
Okay. So I was going to ask particularly because, so just to give you a preview, so every week we are discussing a few things around, and last week what we discussed and where we parked the car is, I'll give a brief overview and then we will start the engine again. So I think we kind of identified where exactly, we located where exactly is all these commotions happening. So how we interact with the world. We all think that we are consciously interacting with the world, but it's actually the subconscious that comes into picture first and then pulls out the data, and that it throws out some emotions or feelings or thoughts or some opinion about whatever is going on. And then when we come to conscious about it, when we become aware of it, that's what we call it, the conscious mind. It's like we can think of it as like a small working space or a buffer space, the functional space that we are aware of, that we are conscious of. That's what is conscious mind. So we are thinking that, we are feeling this way when I see this person, or I'm feeling tensed because of the situation, or all that. But then actually it's a subconscious that's cooking up in its own kitchen, and the kitchen is invisible. It's underneath. Nobody has access to it. And then it throws out something out, and we are just catching it in through the conscious mind, or we are the conscious mind that's catching it. And then we are realizing that's, oh, this is what we are feeling. So now and we also saw that when we are coming to awareness, still the conscious mind does not know that it's the subconscious that's creating. As soon as it becomes conscious, it thinks that that's the one that saw this person like this, or is getting this stress or tension or whatever that emotion. And so it immediately puts a filter because it's so scared of the social conditioning. Because if I have a random thought to kill somebody, or to slap someone, or to steal something, then immediately my conscious mind gets so uneasy that, oh my God, the uneasiness comes from
Conscious mind.
Out. Yeah, it comes from the conscious mind. But then it's because, it's scared of, like, what if I act out? What if my action reflects and it shows the entire world that I'm such a crappy person inside? So we do so many things then, to hide out, to put a mask, and we create all this persona, or whatever we call the ego, or whatever. So, and then we try to kind of either suppress those emotions and then act very nice, with peace or whatever that is, or we couldn't control or suppress and then we act out. Especially if it is somebody under our power, or in the hierarchy, we act out. But then that is the fear of the subconscious mind, because it scares that it doesn't have control over the action. So now what it does is it suppresses all the things. So what it starts thinking naively is that, okay, only because I'm getting all these so-called negative reactions, I'm struggling in my action. Because naturally, I think everybody knows we don't want to slap somebody unnecessarily, or like even necessarily. And we don't want to say, all this morality is already in place to be in the society. So now that's where the stress starts to build up. I know what is right, but then I'm not able to really, tune myself to create all that, to be able to do only what is right. I think everybody is just in that dilemma. And so then what we think ignorantly is that, oh, because I get these negative emotions or thoughts, only because of that I'm able to, I'm struggling like this. So the solution is, okay, how can I cultivate positive thoughts? How can I be without the chatter? How can I have good, so-called good, correct thoughts, correct emotions, positive emotions, and then there's no trouble, right? Oh, we are only going to act out in the appropriate way. So that is the reason why the core problem is we are so scared of acting out impulsively that we don't know what to do, and then we try to control, oh, the emotion is what is pushing us to do that, so then we need to correct that. So it's very logical and it sounds correct also, and then we try to go work on ourselves. So this is where we parked the car last time. So if I may ask, Anjana, so over the week, were you able to, so the point of interest was just to reflect on, is it really we are creating all that, or is it already being created and we are becoming aware? Were you able to kind of see that over the week in one or few instances? If you would like to share that, please. We got a very young Jnani also in the session today. So if anyone who attended last week, if you may please, because this is not something a theoretical stuff, again, we are holding some knowledge, good to feel kind of a thing. Is it really practical? Is it really useful? Is it true even, or is it even relevant? Maybe not all instances, maybe there are few instances where you thought, oh, this is how it is, and it's or did you think like we are the ones who are creating all that? It need not confine and be congruent with what we're discussing. It could be totally conflicting too. That's all right. So no reflections, no time to reflect, or we don't even have to take time to reflect it. Like when we actually see how things are happening, was there any instance?
It doesn't like we are doing some like daily routine work for our kids, mostly housewives. So I want to do something, then my kid is interfering, husband is interfering in sometimes in kitchen. So we got like whatever we prepared for them, and they are making comment on the thing. So we got irritated on sometimes. So that may be cumulative also. Their brain, and then situation comes again, a different situation, stressful situation, not created by me, but it came by creative efforts, like cumulative.
Okay, so what Sonal is saying is, so the reflection is, correct me if I'm wrong, so it seems like those things were created by the external environment.
Yeah,
correct. Yeah, so yes, so there are two factors that are playing in here. One is the situation, which is outside of us. It could be some people, or the scenario where we are in, that's causing this. But then it is also when Sonal is interfacing with those situations, right? So there are two elements that is involved. One, our internal structure, where we have whatever thoughts we anyways, immediately this, yeah, whatever I'm going to make, you're going to say one thing or the other. You always have opinions, right? So there are these automatic things that will pop out.
Yeah.
So like we won't be really interested in, oh, so what
like my team,
yeah,
he also comments on my food, and my husband also. So I thought like their behavior is reflecting on this situation. I am doing my best, but it's happening by them.
Yes, so totally it's coming from the outside. But let's imagine a scenario where like they're saying something, but then they're saying it for the first time. And what if you're totally unfamiliar about that?
I can't get it, what you're saying.
Okay, say for example, people come in and ring our door, the salespeople.
Yeah.
So even before somebody rings at we know the time. Like when we are at home all the time, we know what's going on, right? So whenever somebody is ringing at the door, ringing the doorbell, at that we will get furious. Even before we open the door, we know it's a sales. Somebody is doing sales, door-to-door sales, and they're disturbing us, right? Have you had this experience? But then we don't even know what the situation is. But then when we open it, there might be some relative who is so innocently standing there, who has come from the village or something, to visit us. So there are two factors that's dancing between. One is what we hold, the warehouse, the stuff, because otherwise we will not be interpret that whatever the husband says is so familiar, or it's like he's always has his opinion or something, right? There is a data match. Of course it is stimulated from outside, but then the reaction comes out because we already have a relevant data inside. This has been going on for so long. Do you see that?
Yeah.
Yeah. So there are two variables that is involved: our subconscious, or whatever, like how we have our personality, and then whatever the external situation. Okay, so now when we want to shift something, then the first thing we request is ask the situation to change. We tell the husband or our son, be better appreciative or something. At least I'm cooking. I'm not ordering in Swiggy or something. So we try to make them shift, or make them, change them. And that's not working. We have tried so many times. We know that's not working clearly. So then maybe we go to some personality development classes and all that, and then they say it's all your attitude of how you see, and then we start changing. Oh, maybe I should see things differently and all that, and then we gear ourselves up. But then the next time, again, when we cook, again the same scenario happens. All those conscious filters or whatever methods we are trying to put in place is not working, and immediately this comes out, right? So there is there is an example that Aya gives in one of his books, like where, for example, let's assume there was Ram and Shyam, two people who was working abroad. And this was like happening long time before we had all these, like, networks, internet connection and all that. So they were very remote. They were working abroad. And then one of them died in an accident. See, let's say Shyam died in an accident. And so they cremated him there, and everything is done. But then they have to send the message to his family who is living in India, a remote rural place. So now Ram, they both are from the same town. So Ram hears that there is another person who is going to visit to India. So he goes meet that person and tells him that, he gives some gifts and all that for his family, for his kids, and says, please go tell my family I'm doing good, and give all these things to them. And then please go meet Shyam's house and then tell them this is what has happened, unfortunately, and all that. So somehow he wants to convey the message. So this messenger comes, and then he's slightly confused between Ram and Shyam. He goes to Ram's house and says that, I'm so sorry for your loss. This is what has happened. Everything is over. And then he goes to Shyam's house. He gives all the gifts for their, children, and says that your son is doing well and all that. He wanted to convey this. So now, actually, in reality, Ram's family has, is actually okay, right? But then they are in mourning. They are grieving their son's loss, or the husband's and dad's loss. But then Shyam's family, the truth is Shyam is no more, but they're celebrating. They are so happy, and they're looking forward for Shyam to come back. So this, if we really think deeply, it really messes our mind, because the strange thing is, whatever may be the truth, in reality, our mind is able to think through only through certain information, or with whatever we could comprehend. And whatever we could comprehend literally depends on what information was given to us and how we have been trained to look it through. So then are we all interacting with reality as it is? I mean, it really screws you up if we think deeply. It is alarmingly what do you say, we have no idea what's going on in reality, because we are it is also unconscious. We don't know. That's how we could perceive the world, with the information and how we are trained to perceive that information. But there's also a positive side to this. Is so what this also shows, that even when the reality sucks, even when the reality is pathetic, even when there is a real suffering, it's not like cheating or deceiving ourselves, but there is like a way to see that might help us not get entangled into the sufferings. For example, in Ram's family, they are like, as soon as they hear this news, everything is collapsed for them. So but in Shyam's family, just because they don't have that information, they are like completely happy and enjoying and celebrating. So whenever that the information about the reality and the way we see that reality is corrected, then we are able to see the reality as it is. So now, so in this example, we might think, this example is only to show that, like, how these things, when they are like, when they are turned upside down, it also shifts. But without without anything happening outside in the world, we are able to have a different kind of a perception towards it. And also how we could have been ignorant about so many things by not understanding things correctly. So it just shows both sides of it. So now that we know this, okay, now everyone says this common saying, right? It is the attitude with which you approach the life is what matters and all that. Okay, yeah. So how do we develop that attitude? Then we try to develop all that attitude. But then Bhagavad path is very distinct in the sense. So this is not a practice, this is not like a tool, but it's just like one-time investment and lifelong return kind of a thing. So once we catch that and understand that, oh, this is how it is, like a fact, like like the light of the day, then we don't have to work on our attitudes. We don't have to work on how do we actually perceive everything, but rather just that understanding kind of shifts us and helps us see things as they are, at least close to as they are. So that is the main distinction with this understanding. So now, what do we understand in this? What do I mean by that is, now when we are consciously, when the conscious mind thinks that, oh, it is, first of all, it thinks that it generated that emotion or the thought or whatever the reaction it is from the when there is an external trigger, first it thinks that that's what it created. So it understands and it sees itself as a creator, and it sees that then it's my responsibility to clear it, because otherwise I'm going to act out. So now what it does is it tries to reform. So for example, if it is a painful thing, then it wants to change itself to feel peaceful, to get out of that pain, to get out of that suffering. And suppose if it's a very nice feeling, again it thinks, oh my God, I would love to continue this feel good. And mistakenly, because it thinks it has the capacity to to create that. It thinks that it can sustain and stretch that feel good. So this is how we are functioning. But the only problem is that, first of all, the conscious mind is not creating. And second of all, we are only coming to awareness when that emotion is getting out of our system. It's only on the way out we are catching it. And the third thing is, the lifetime of any thought or any emotion scientifically is like it's a fraction of a second. So when the conscious mind is catching the tail end of what is already done, already complete, and already going, on the way out, but then it understands that that has created, and it wants to extend, or it wants to push it away in like immediately, then that's the whole. Then it kind of like, it's like we are fighting against a shadow that's not even real. So when we are conscious, what we are conscious is only the shadow of what has already really has happened, which is in the subconscious mind. So now the conscious mind is trying to clean up the shadow, which is a never ending process, or it's never going to happen. So because the struggle itself is an imaginary one, definitely no solution could be a real one for that. So how much ever, for example, if I'm walking through a street and my shadow falls onto a ditch, if I try to go and wash my shadow, that's just ridiculous, right? But then that's how we are going on. So now if we pause for a second, it's like, why do we think so? It doesn't seem to be like, that it lives for a fraction of a second. No, I'm having this suffering lifelong, like how, Rajesh said, or like, no, I'm dealing with this problem so long. In fact, I can only equate myself to that problem itself, right? We identify with that. It seems such a stubborn thing. So what is happening there? Because otherwise we wouldn't be doing something so irrational. If it was so obvious, everyone would have found about it. So any ideas or any clues, like why it appears so stubborn, why it appears like it's there forever?
Coach, hi Coach, can I share something?
Yes, please. Muru.
Before that, thank you for infecting us with your joy.
Thank
You're
you.
very joyful in your presentation, and it's infectious.
Thank you.
Right. If I may, I just want to say that, it is, we take it for granted, mostly that we are conscious. And that this is a great, great veil, Maya, that, people think that, they are conscious. But a mere exercise, if you were to sit 5 minutes and just put effort to be conscious, we will feel that even the 5 minutes, it become very harder, very difficult to stay conscious. And this experiment will be given to some school of thought, in ancient days, that a simple exercise of being conscious. And end of the day, we will find out that even to be conscious for 5 minutes is difficult. Then the question arises is, even if for 5 minutes, we trying to be conscious is so difficult, then how is that we claim that, we've been conscious for throughout the day and carrying out our life activities? Unless we do this experiment and see it for ourselves, it wouldn't come as a shock. to see the lie, the veil that covers our perception. So what happens is at a very short period of time, we snap out from this unconscious, which is a state of natural state, and we become conscious due to some things that need to be done, or something that requires our attention or focus. And that moment, that conscious mind will claim all those unconscious duration and claim it as though I was there, I did it. So that's the lie that we need to see it for ourselves. I think if we can see that, then it's easy to grasp what you're saying. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Thank you, Muru, for sharing that thought. So, okay. So the context, what Muru tries to show us is there is already an assuming that we are so conscious of everything, and we are doing everything and approaching everything and interacting everything consciously. So even as I speak, if I'm going to be conscious of every single word, that will make me lunatic. So our brain functions in a way that it is always a big, efficiency machine. So most of the things would be like unconscious or subconscious. So for example, when we brush our teeth, when we go in the same route again and again, to work or somewhere, or when we cook a recipe or something, we do it so unconsciously because it's automatic, because we already know that. We are so familiar. It's the same neural network. So we don't need our attention and awareness. So, which is not like a negative thing, but that's how we are designed to function. So 99% it is unconscious or, subconscious. But as Muru said it beautifully, it's like there are some things which are new or which needs our attention, or like when we go about life as usual, business as usual, and something happens and then that wakes us up, or we are forced to see some things, and then we become conscious. Or even the pain, for example, the suffering makes us conscious. Even when there is a lot of like good things happening, we are totally unconscious. Because
Coach, that's true. Sorry, that's true. Most often we become conscious of suffering, hence we say life is suffering. Mm-hmm. Okay, go ahead. Sorry, I disturbed you.
No. I'm trying to give a different context, like so we can catch up to you, Muru.
True. What you're saying is true.
Yes. So what I'm trying to first say is it's nothing wrong. That is how we are designed. That's how we have survived, and that is the design of us. That's the design of our brain, to have as much as like, to make it into a package, put it into the subconscious and unconscious, and we go about life unconsciously. So the point here is we don't want to become conscious of everything. That's not awakening. In fact, after understanding, we start appreciating the beauty of unconscious thing or subconscious. To give a simple example, we don't even feel our body exists, right? And it's nothing wrong about it. We are not like, oh, I'm aware of my limb, my right limb, my my left hand, and my my right ear, or this, and like we will go crazy if we are becoming so conscious of everything about our bodies, about what's going on in our head, about what other people is doing. And so all that thing is not that's not consciousness what we are talking about. So if we are healthy, a healthy body would be going about unconsciously. But then when we have a fever or when we have a pain, then we become aware of that body part. Oh my God, my hip is always, hurting, or my leg is hurting, or I have a temperature. Then we become aware of that consciously. So the whole journey is, yes, the ignorance is completely unconscious. And then we get this intelligence or this understanding. We understand what's happening in this teeny bit of this consciousness when we become conscious, and what all drama happens there. And then after understanding and that auto correction or self, like after really getting that the core of understanding what's going on, then we allow that we become unconscious completely, like in the sense we go about life normally. So that is also one of the things, like why they say if you're chopping wood before enlightenment, yes, you become enlightened, or you become aware, or like you understand the truth. And then what you do, you don't have all these fancy experiences, or like, become divine, this and that, or it's not about that. You just get back to chopping wood. Same old, same old. But then there is no struggle of, even when that, the teeny bit of that conscious stream comes out. So did I get your frame right, Muro? Please feel free to chime in or reframe.
Yeah, yes, coach. I mean, in short, if we can say that the conscious mind yearns for being unconscious, subconscious level of being natural state. But upon understanding Aya's teaching, I mean, we are putting it in different words, right? But the core of it is, no matter how much effort the conscious self puts towards in reaching out to the unconscious or subconscious state or being natural, it will be utter failure, because conscious mind is meant to function in conscious way. So you shouldn't put a struggle. This is what it is a psychological field. We should not apply effort, because all effort by the conscious mind to go into subconscious mind state is utter failure, because conscious mind requires effort. To stay conscious for 5 minutes requires effort, but that doesn't mean it is not useful. Conscious mind has got
Yeah.
its proper
So
application.
yeah,
So
exactly.
when we understand the functioning of conscious mind totally, we let go of the psychological effort of keeping peace, which means the natural state of subconscious, attaining that towards it or leaning towards it, fighting to attain that state. We give up. We see from Aya's understanding, it stops, and we just use it as a proper tool. Chop wood, make some fire.
Yeah.
Okay, Mom.
So so all this time we were ditching the conscious mind and we were saying that, how all it's like, where it's struggling and what the kind of struggle is, all that. But then in nature, there's literally no place for anything to exist if there is no use for it. So there is a place for conscious mind, right? So what is that place? So as we were discussing, the functional mind, the conscious mind, or it's called as a functional mind, it's the small working space that's where we receive all the information through our senses, and we take the inputs. And then that is also the executive brain, the later recently developed part of brain, which has all the executive functions, where, like, the planning, deciding, thinking, decision making, all the functional stuff. So for anything for me to make sense, I cannot do it without my thinking mind, which is the functional mind or the conscious mind. But then for me to really realize and feel or do anything, I need that is where all the subconscious mind happens. So now like, so this conscious mind has a beautiful function, and that is what differentiates us from humans from the other animals. We have this cognitive ability. Of course, along with all the other five senses, now we also have the mind. And in that, like, that's where we, we choose, we make choices, we decide, we set our direction, we filter out, we do a lot of different things with the executive mind. So which, like, everyday function happens only with our, like, the functional mind. And then once that neural pathway gets established, then it goes into unconscious. So that's what we call as habit. Habit is nothing but a process that is repetitive over the time, and it is so, what is the entry point, what's the process, what's the exit, and then it's so automatic that now you don't have to be conscious anymore, and then it goes into our subconscious part. That's what is called habits. That's why it is also, it takes time to build a habit, and it takes so much effort to break a habit because it goes so unconscious later. So, but then, but bad habits are easy to create. That's a whole different thing we will discuss about. So the conscious mind, this is how it operates. So the more it's free, the more it has space, the more intelligent it would be. Like, for example, if we have the receptionist in the receptionist space, if we have all the trash piled up, we won't be able to welcome anyone into, even enter. But then the reception is not the place where everything happens. Things happen in the living room, things happen in the kitchen and beyond, right? But then this is a beautiful entry and exit space, which needs to be, like, the space in that, the clarity in that is very important for the regular function. So how our conscious mind functions is like, it is always measuring, it is always judging. So the conscious mind, that part, the part of it which does is the intellect. Its job is to compare what is right, what is wrong, what is big, what is small, what is to be done, what not to be done, all the judgments, all the measuring, all the, all those things is happening there. So the more and more we are utilizing it in the external world, the more and more the human race is advancing in all aspects. That's the beauty of it. So an animal would be just sitting like this, for example, a lion, and then suddenly it will feel the urge, the desire, it will feel in its body the hunger, and then it will go and hunt, and then it will eat, and then it's done. And the next day again, when it, or a couple of days, when it again gets that instinct, and then it goes and does something, and then that fulfills, and then it rests. So this is how animals behave. So what's different for human is, we don't just start out only when we have that hunger. We could actually go out, hunt, have something for that meal, and also put something in storage. We save stuff because we are able to see the future, because we project, which is beautiful, right? That's the use of the conscious mind, the cognitive mind, the intellect. We are not just like animals, just living at the moment, which is another living. That moment is so beautiful, but then just living at the moment will not, we are a little bit evolved beings, so we can project into the future, we can create some stuff and say, but it comes with the what do you say, it also comes with the downside. So of course it can project the future, it can, it can do some calculations, it can do all that, and then build something it is very beautiful when it does all that. But then when it is over functioning, we get anxious, we project all that, what if this is not enough, and we keep doing more and more and more. So anyway, the executive functions we will come another day, but actually in the functioning of the mind, what is the caveat to the conscious mind is that because it is so much like, for example, if you want to ride a bicycle or if you want to swim, there are two kinds of knowledge. One, we want to know the information or the knowledge about the process, and the other thing is the practical knowledge. So it is not enough just to see YouTube videos about swimming. If you just look at the YouTube video and go into the pool to swim, you might drown. So actually it takes skills and practice to develop that skill, right? It takes time, it takes effort, it takes that skill to practice that. So you need the information, and also you need the technique, and also you need the skill. So the external world functions only in this way. We need both of that. But then there is also a place where, this conscious mind starts doing the same exact thing inside of us also. So outside, like when we are conscious, when we know how we need to be mindful about, or if we don't have, for example, a child does not have the intellect developed, it will say whatever it feels, whatever it feels, it is so innocent, it will just blurt out. So the whole mind is innocent. It is an observing mind. Whatever comes in, whatever goes out, there is no intellect. But then slowly, even a child has intellect. It can distinguish its parents from the strangers and all that. But slowly, as the intellect starts developing, what we mean by that is, it is painful. It is like, it's building the muscle of filtering out. So whatever we think, we cannot say to other people. Like, for example, I don't like you, I hate you. The child would literally throw at our face, no, I love you, or I hate you. My son would say, you're the best mom in the whole entire world, he will say. And then the next time he would say, I want you to go to Antarctica with no shoes, no nothing, because I hate you. You're the worst mom in the entire world. So he's literal. When he says this, he's 100%. When he says this, he's 100%. There's no filter yet. But then we cannot live our lives like that, right? So then we develop this intellect where, if it is boss, we cannot say all that thing, even though we feel all that crap inside. So people teach us how to develop that intellect and how to filter out and how to perform in the outside world. But what we fail to teach is, the whole filtering is only for the outside. You will get both the feelings, and that's okay. So what happens is, like, okay, this is what I lost the train of thought. So when we are teaching the development of intellect, the only way so far how it has developed is by suppression, right? It's either or. If I have to be polite, then I have to suppress. I have to, mute myself, and then I can be like this. So this is the only way we have developed. And that is why all this bottling up, and that is why it is causing so much stress, because we could be dealing with crap all day, but we could have had a beautiful mask and be polite all day. Yes, we have succeeded. Yes, we are great people. But then nobody told us how to handle our internal world other than suppressing. Because it's nobody's fault, because we thought that only either one could exist. If I have to be polite, then, either I should not have bad emotions or I should suppress it. Those are the only two options. So that is ignorance. But okay, so this is how the intellect is developing. And then as the intellect develops and develops, suppressing and replacing, or like, or just eliminating. That's the way to go. That's what samadhi is, the ultimatum of all that. So anyway, so this is how the intellect is developing. But then what happens is, if you're very intellectual, what happens is, then we think that, oh, I'm able to get success with measuring, judging, filtering out, and I know beautifully how to handle the external world. I'm so good at that. So now, falsely, it also thinks that, okay, now I could manage my subconscious also. So all these intellect, which is great in its own way in dealing with the world outside, now thinks that it has super capacity and super evolved, and it turns inside and starts to deal with the emotions and the thoughts and everything. So as long as it was looking outside and dealing with whatever it is, that's what it's meant for. That's what it is there for. And we need that. But then it assumes a little bit of like a promoted responsibility and thinks that, okay, now I can handle all these things because I know what's the root causes. So now it turns back and does the same thing over again. It starts measuring the emotions. It starts contrasting the emotions. It starts judging the emotions. It starts judging the thoughts. But the only problem is, those emotions, those thoughts are not even like real, in the sense they are so transient. Those are like so momentary. And we are able to become aware of that only at the tail end of it. So first of all, it's like almost not existing. And second of all, it's like there is literally no power to do all that, because it is also a joke. It's like washing the shadow. So, but then we don't know, that's the whole Maya. So the conscious mind turns inside and thinks that, oh, it's the boss here also. So to give a very practical example, say for example, we are a successful professional, or our husband is, or whatever. They're having a great job. They are like the country manager, say, right? They're super intelligent. They manage so many people under, and they are so good in what they're doing. And they are like the number one in their field. They're the expert, go-to expert. They have high authority, credibility, and everything. They're so good, so damn good in what they're doing. So they're coming home. So when they leave their shoes out, if they don't leave that personality of that, the number one successful person in their field also out, and come into the home as a husband or a dad or a son, guess what happens? And that's what is happening all the time. We don't know. We step into a different place. Like home is, it's like a micro of the inside kind of a macro world. So when we step into our home, it doesn't matter. My son doesn't care what I do with my clients. He would say, you're still a mom. Yes, I'm still a mom. And that's the role for him, that I could play for him. And that's how we interact there. So if I bring all that intelligence and tell my wife, like the husband tells his wife, like, everybody else listens to me, but they know how utter a failure they are in making their wives listen to them. So they're accepting the failure is the only option. Because if you try to rule the world like how you rule the external world inside the house, that creates so much noise, because we don't care what of course you're good at what you're doing. It's good for you, it's good for the family, you're making a good money, and you're supporting us, you're protecting us, and all that is great. But then nobody cares. Of course we respect him for what he's doing and all that, but then nobody cares. And that's the beauty of it. If everybody is treating him like the people who are working underneath him in his work, if everybody at home is also treating like him, he's losing the whole essence of what home is, of all that beauty. Oh, I'm in slow motion, my internet connection. Okay. Let me check. Is it sync? Is it in sync now? Is my speaking and is the audio and video in sync? Give me a thumbs up, please. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So that's a simple, basic example, like how we are not neglecting the fact, we are not, discounting the fact. Yes, the husband is a beautiful number one, whatever the go-to expert in his field at work. But then when you come home, he's not expected to do the job at home, and and he also doesn't have any power whatsoever coming back at home. But mostly but nobody knows this, right? Like whoever understands this would have peace at home if they're able to be just that, the different personality at home, where they know their responsibilities and they know their limitations. It's so much better. So this is all the whole crux of it. So the conscious mind is also like that. It's so beautiful. It's the more intellectual we are, the more intelligent we are able to communicate with the world, we are able to contribute to the world, we are able to create and manifest beautiful things. But then the conscious mind has no authority whatsoever to deal with what's coming out. So this is the truth, because everything is happening just in that space. So now what happens? So we said, what are the ways we know how to go about it? Is suppress it, or replace it with a better one, or completely eliminate it. So now let's go through one by one what happens. So the replacing thing is so the suppressing is the first thing, like where we find like we ourselves like a victim. All the emotions, all these things is like so intense, but at the same time we are not able to express anything out. So we are trying to suppress. Yeah, sure, Rajesh. Yeah, we'll have the recording. So we will wind up in a short, and we'll continue next week. So the first thing is suppression. That's what that's what is a default kind of a thing. And then we get a little trendy, and then we go into some spiritual practices, or like even religious practices, or we fast, we do different things. And then we kind of like keep it a little bit under control by, and then we try to replace it. That's the whole subconscious programming, the positive thoughts, positive affirmation and all that. So it's as though like you're reading out and you're planting something good. And the ultimate thing is, then we think that, oh yeah, we are able to be successful in that to an extent. So as long as we are in the bhajan, we are the kindest loving people around. But then after 2 hours, God knows what comes out of our mouth. So all that thing will come out like it's like a pendulum. The more it goes to the other end, the more forceful it will come the other side, bouncing out. We get so irritated. Especially when fasting. So it's a body that's making us do one thing, but then it's also the deprivation makes us so irritated, annoyed. So to some extent we are able to manage it, we are able to mute it, we are able to mold it, we are able to like really beautifully dress it up. But then again, it comes out all ugly after some time. So then we are doing it with more intensity, more effort, more structure, or switch schools, switch ashram, switch methods, switch gurus. But then end of the day, we then blame that, oh my God, I have so much crap, I have to work more. but we are also able to see the result. Yes, I'm able to, kind of manage my work a little bit better. I have this I'm able to interact with somebody a little bit better when I'm going into this meditation process for so much. We are also able to see the benefits. Okay, now there is much more conflict. Okay, I know it's working, but I also know it's not working. So then what I do is, okay, you know what? I work so much that once I find the right method, and then I work really, and then if this is a very crucial point, this is where it keeps many of us stuck. If I'm able to make a difference, if I'm able to make a change, which I am seeing, what if I'm able to sustain this change and prolong? Then I would be successful. What if I'm able to sustain that holiness, that peace, that loving nature, or that calmness, or whatever that is, or that blissfulness? What if I'm able to sustain that? It's not a false thing. It is true. I'm able to taste it. I have tasted it. So all I have to do is find a way to sustain it and stretch it. Then I would have conquered the subconscious. I'm the master of it. I'm in control of it. Then that's what is enlightenment. That's how we think. What if I'm able to stretch that experience and elongate and have it forever? It's like happily ever after. All the stories end like happily ever after. Only people know what happens after all that happily ever after. So we don't question, is there really a happily ever after? See, all the movies, they have all these climax, and then they get into this wedding, and then they join together, and then they put the subam, or the end or whatever. But actually it's not the end. That's the beginning of all the chaos that's going to happen after that. But then anyway, coming back to that, this false idea that yes, I'm able to taste this, yes, it is useful, yes, I'm able to have a control, so all I have to do is just elongate and sustain this bliss consciousness, or this experience, or the control of mind, whatever that is. Then that's it. That's what is enlightenment, and that's how we have defined it so far. That's how we have been told. And that is why everybody aims for samadhi. Samadhi is like literally sustaining that in the peak and just being. No emotions, no thoughts, nothing. It's that nothingness, but wanting to be in that nothingness all day long. And that's what the yogic process are. So samadhi is the ultimate destination in yoga. Now, let's gather our thoughts. And so, is that what we are aiming here? What is the actual purpose of, even if you're able to attain that samadhi, or like what does samadhi has to do with enlightenment, if at all? And how is it is useful for our day-to-day life? So we will go more deep into that, but this is why, and this is how we are struggling, assuming we are taking control. The conscious mind is taking control and trying to do different things. So whether it succeeds or not, and what is the implications of that, or is there a better way? Is there an aesthetic way? Yes, subconscious is powerful, but it gives what's needed and what's not needed also. Now what to do? Yes, the conscious is also powerful. Yes, it's the intellect. It does beautiful things, but it also does this ignorant things over the subconscious. So what do I do now? So we will meet next week and discuss further. So now I open it to the floor, and please share if this all makes sense, or if something somewhere lit up for you. Please kindly open up, share.
So these meditation practices where we can do the meditation and peaceful experiences, these are good for ourselves. For daily routine, we join some meditation like Ravi Shankar ji or some different kind of meditations are there in YouTube.
Yeah.
So
the meditation is a beautiful practice which will help clear up the clutter, create some space. And if we use it to kind of like, interact with the daily practical world, with the outside world, yes, it's a great tool. But when the same meditation is practiced for prolonging the state of mind, then we will discuss in the next class what it does. And so it is all the intention for which you use the tool. But even before that, just to wrap our head that it's just a tool. If it is used for what it is intended to, yes, it is great. But if you're doing it in the yogic way towards samadhi and all that, is it really needed? Is it working? Then that's when we understand the caveat behind that. So to answer your question for now, from which context you're coming, yeah, feel free to do those meditations and all that. But if you're doing it to make yourself a better person, then we have to question what a better person is, right? So that's where it gets interesting. But if you're doing meditation just to, meditation is nothing but you become one with something, and you're in alignment and you're able to do things in a much more clarity and all that, then yes, when you cook a dish completely involved, that is a meditation. So yeah, we can do those practices, but for what? Is it to make Sonal a better person, or is it to make Sonal's actions more in control, more efficient? So the later is a good choice. We can use anything and everything under this world to make our actions efficient. But to make ourselves a better person, then we question, is it first of all, are we not a better person? Are we a better person or no? Or like, what does it mean to become a better person? And then, all that. And then you yourself can decide, Sonal. At the end of like maybe a couple of more sessions, I will leave it up to you and I'll ask you for which you want to use. It's totally up to you. But we have a choice. Yeah. Thank you. And any other thoughts? Is the pace okay or is it too fast?
it's okay.
Okay, thank you. Shalini, Amresh, Adarsh, Anjana, Sham, please give your thoughts about what I'm trying to see is, are we connecting? Is it relevant?
Namaste, Rima. Yeah, definitely it's very relevant. But again, I think after 1 or 2 more sessions, you'll get a better idea. Things are going fine. I'm finding value in it.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Okay. So is there anything like immediately you would like to get an answer, like this is happening in my life or something, and we need to, how do I face it, or how do I, like, very practically, because this is not like just a one-way lecture or something, so we can make the application relevant as we go on. We are just going to see the same.
Yeah, if you could cover the aspects between free will and our own efforts.
Okay.
And surrender.
Okay. Okay.
So that issue.
Okay.
Whether everything is in our control, outer world or inner world, both.
Okay.
And the difference between free will and surrender.
Okay, sure. Thank you. So I think that we will naturally step into that once we understand the context and the how the functioning of conscious and subconscious is. So yeah, that will naturally lead to that.
Yeah, maybe in future you may be covering that. Just give a
Interesting.
suggestion.
Thank you for sharing. Inner child wound. Okay. Inner child. Okay. Yeah, thanks, Shalini. I thought we got over about it long time ago, but there are still some remains, I guess. So yes, yeah, we will talk about that. Any other thoughts, Anjana, Adarsh?
Namaste.
Namaste, Anjana.
Yeah, thank you for the teachings. I'm understanding that and I'm getting it. The one thing is the difference between ignorant and an enlightened person is just the understanding part, right?
Yes, totally. Just that.
So more people are living a happy life.
You're breaking up, Ma. I'm not able to hear.
Ignorant people are living a better life, I see.
No, people say ignorance is bliss. Actually, I would like to reframe it. It's not our choice. Life will not keep us always ignorant. So the only way to move forward is from ignorance we move to intelligence, and from intelligence we move to wisdom. Ignorance is like completely it's ignorant of all the thing. It's in the dark. Intelligent thinks that everything is light and it's so powerful, and that's intelligence. But then we move towards wisdom, where we know the limitation of intelligence. So then that's wisdom. So that's what this path is taking us towards. So then we don't have to be ignorant, but we can be innocent. We are innocent. So the innocence, which is already there, has a place, and it is so beautiful. And then the intelligence knows its place and limitations and starts functioning beautifully. And that's the difference between that is just understanding all that put together is wisdom. So it is only, you could only move forward, right? There is only one choice to move forward. So there is no option to go back to ignorance and being blissful. So that train is gone, Anjana. No more. Now, yes, we will dance in the chaotic, intelligent part. We will try to take control of all that, and then we step into the next phase where that's why ignorance is not an option anymore.
And one more thing, the way you said that they say anything and then they have an observing mind. So, but we cannot do the same thing, right?
Mm-hmm. You're muted, Ma. What were you saying?
The example you were giving about kids, that kids can say anything and the kids can get away with it. But we as an adult, we cannot get away with our behavior in the external world, right?
Right.
So we have to regulate it.
Yes, totally.
We cannot go with the flow in that case, like whatever it has come.
Yes, totally. We have to regulate it. But when regulating the external thing, that is where we think that we have to regulate our emotions also. So now we have beautifully landed the space where we will explore what is internal, what is external, what is physical, what is psychological. So organically we have come to that.
The time gap is way less between something coming from the subconscious to conscious, and then it.
Yes. It is so impulsive. That's why That is why, see, we are not dumb people. That is why the intellect is thinking we have to control the emotions. That is why we have been doing it for so many years. It is very narrow, but is it narrow? Like once you understand that, then that's where you start exploring that space in between. So that's why this thing is dance between emotions and actions. What comes in between is that space, that choice, that decision, and we will slowly move into that. Yes, you are very true. We have to regulate it. That's why we need intellect. As adults, we need that. But then we also misuse it in the wrong department. And also, yes, there is literally, it feels like there is no space. I think you're answering the question I asked you. Why do you think we even go back and trying to fix this? It's because we feel that it's all happening just like that. We act out and then think, oh my God, right? So then we don't feel that space. So we will explore that next week. Is there a space or no? If there was nothing, there is no scope. But right now we are not able to perceive that. So I will leave you with wondering about that. And say, for example, you have your child who knocked your iPhone and broke it. Would you get furious or not? Would you
Yes.
even give him a big bang in the back? But say, for example, if my son we are guest in your house and my son comes and knocks over your iPhone, of course it's expensive. Of course it's the same thing. The value doesn't change. Now, would you smack my son?
No.
No, right? If we try to be polite with the guests, and that's where we're doing the filter. So there is a choice, and that is also we are doing unconsciously. We are able to know where to act and where not to act. So there is a space. We are beautifully using that space, that choice. But now we become more aware of that. So what I'm trying to say is, yes, there is a space. With this example, you could see, yes, there is a choice. But then,
yes,
yeah. But then we don't seem to see that all the time. So then, yeah, this understanding will give a more in-depth zoom into that, and we will be able to see that. But it is a fact. We are choosing all the time. Yeah. All right. Great questions. Yes, Shalini, would you like to ask something, or next week, or we can discuss about the inner child and all that?
Yeah. Hi, ma'am.
Hi.
Ma'am, the section is very good and it's mostly very relevant.
Okay.
And I came with this question again with the inner child wound because I'm seeing some kind of a repetitive pattern in my life. Like whichever happened was like still going on and I'm still like pulled back by that. So I just need to know about that and it's okay.
Yeah,
Maybe we can continue in the next section.
Yeah. We'll discuss that about the whatever patterns and all that. So just to leave you with this, see, because you understand all these things, now you're more sensitive and you're aware of those patterns. That's what is happening with you, because I know you from some time. So that's okay. You become conscious of all those things. Now again, without trying to fix it, just keep observing. We'll talk about it next week.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Thank you, everyone, for this session, and participants, for participating and making it so lively. And we will see more about the dance between the emotions and actions in the coming week. Thank you so much. Bye.
Thank you. Good night.
Thank you.